The stars blurred past the small viewport as Captain Tae-sung guided his cargo hauler through the empty space between systems. He had been making this run for 15 years now, bringing supplies to the isolated human colonies on the frontier. Medical equipment, farming tools, books for the children. Nothing exciting, nothing dangerous. Just an old man doing honest work in the vastness of space. His ship was called the Morning Star, and it was as old as he was. 67 years for him, 63 for the ship. They both creaked and groaned, but they both kept going. That was enough. The proximity alarm started beeping. Tae-sung frowned and checked his sensors. 3 ships had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in his path. Big ships. Military ships. Not human. He knew what they were before his computer identified them. Vraxian Empire warships. He had heard the rumors, heard that they were pushing into this sector of space. But rumors were just rumors until they were right in front of you. His communication system crackled to life. A harsh voice spoke in perfect human language. Unidentified human vessel, cut your engines immediately. You are now property of the Vraxian Empire. Resistance will result in your destruction. Tae-sung looked at his control panel. He could try to run. The Morning Star was small and quick, but those warships were faster and had weapons that could turn his ship into dust in seconds. He had no weapons at all, just cargo containers full of medicine and seeds. He cut the engines. 20 minutes later, he stood in chains inside a Vraxian interrogation room. The room was cold and made of dark metal. Lights shone down on him from above, bright enough to hurt his eyes. Tae-sung kept his face calm and said nothing. The door opened and a Vraxian officer walked in. He was tall, maybe 8 feet, with purple scales that shimmered under the lights. He had 4 arms and yellow eyes that looked at Tae-sung like he was an insect. 2 guards followed him in, carrying weapons that hummed with energy. I am Commander Vexron, the officer said. His voice was deep and sounded amused. You are Captain Tae-sung of the human vessel Morning Star. Your ship has been destroyed. You are the only survivor. Tae-sung felt a small pain in his chest. The Morning Star had been his home. But he kept his face still and did not speak. Vexron walked around him slowly. You humans are a curious species. You discovered faster-than-light travel only 80 years ago. 80 years. My people have sailed between stars for 10,000 years. We have built an empire that spans this entire region of the galaxy. We have conquered 847 different species. He stopped in front of Tae-sung and leaned down, bringing his face close. And yet you humans think you can simply fly through our territory without permission. Without tribute, without even acknowledging our superiority. Tae-sung met his eyes but said nothing. Vexron laughed. It was a sound like stones grinding together. The strong human. The silent type. I have broken 1,000 prisoners like you. You will tell me what I want to know. What do you want to know? Tae-sung asked quietly. Everything. The location of your military bases. The size of your fleet. Your defensive capabilities. Where Earth is. Vexron smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. We are going to invade your little human territory. We are going to take your worlds. And there is nothing you can do to stop us. Then why do you need information from an old cargo hauler? Tae-sung asked. Vexron's smile faded. One of his hands shot out and grabbed Tae-sung by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Because I want to know how quickly you will die. I want to know if your military will surrender when we start destroying your colonies. I want to know if you will beg for mercy. He dropped Tae-sung back to the floor. Tae-sung coughed once but did not fall. Another Vraxian entered the room. This one was younger and wore a different uniform. Female, Tae-sung guessed, though it was hard to tell with their species. She carried a data pad and stood near the wall watching. Lieutenant Hana, Vexron said without looking at her. Document everything. High Command will want a full report on human weakness. Hana nodded and started typing on her pad. Vexron turned back to Tae-sung. Let me tell you what is going to happen, human. We have been watching your species for 5 years now. We have seen your little ships. We have intercepted your communications. We know you are weak. You have no real military. You have no weapons that can match ours. You are divided into different governments that barely cooperate with each other. He started pacing again, clearly enjoying his speech. The Vraxian Empire does not tolerate competition. We do not share space with others as equals. You will submit to us or you will be eliminated. Those are your only choices. You have done this 847 times before, Tae-sung said. Conquered 847 species. Yes. Vexron looked proud. How many of them fought back? All of them at first. None of them for very long. Vexron laughed again. Some lasted days. The strongest lasted perhaps a month. Then they learned their place. Taesung was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You really don't know what you're dealing with, do you?" The room went silent. Even the guards looked at him. Vexron's eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" "I said you don't know what you're dealing with." Taesung's voice was still quiet, still calm. 847 species. How many of them had nuclear weapons when you found them? A few? Vexron said slowly. How many of them had fought wars that killed millions of their own people? What does that matter? How many of them had turned their entire civilization toward the art of killing each other for thousands of years? Taesung looked up at the bright lights, then back at Vexron. Because that's what we are. That's what humans do. We fight, we've always fought. We're very, very good at it. Vexron stared at him for a long moment. Then he started laughing and the guards joined in. Even Hana smiled a little, though she looked uncomfortable. You think your primitive wars impress me? Vexron said. You think because you killed each other with crude weapons that you can stand against the Vraxian Empire? We have weapons that can burn entire continents. We have ships that can block out the sun. We have armies that number in the billions. I'm sure you do, Taesung said. In 30 days, our invasion fleet will reach Earth. In 40 days, your species will be begging to serve us. And you, old man, you will still be here in this cell, waiting to hear about your people's surrender. Vexron leaned close again. I'm going to keep you alive just so you can see how wrong you are. Taesung looked at him with tired eyes. For just a moment, Hana thought she saw something there. Not fear, not anger. Something else. Something that made her uncomfortable. 30 days, Taesung said quietly. That should be enough time. Enough time for what? But Taesung said nothing more. Vexron ordered the guards to take him back to his cell. As they dragged him away, Hana watched him go. The old human had not begged, had not cried, had not even seemed particularly worried. She looked down at her datapad and started writing her report. But her hands were shaking slightly and she did not know why. 6 hours had passed since they brought Taesung to his cell. It was a small room with metal walls and a single bench. No window, no blanket. Just cold metal and harsh light that never turned off. He sat on the bench with his back against the wall and waited. He had been in worse places. The door opened and 3 Vraxian guards entered. Behind them came a new figure. This Vraxian was older than Vexron, with darker scales and elaborate markings on his uniform. He wore rings on all 4 hands and carried himself with the kind of confidence that came from real power. I am High Inquisitor Dalmon, the Vraxian said. I have come from the Imperial Core World specifically to question you. Commander Vexron believes you are just a simple cargo hauler, but I am not so certain. Taesung looked at him but did not speak. Dalmon gestured and one of the guards brought in a chair. He sat down slowly, studying Taesung like a scientist studying a specimen. You humans interest me. Your species spreads so quickly. You build colonies on worlds that seem barely habitable. You send messages of peace to species you have never met. He pulled out a small device and activated it. A hologram appeared in the air between them. It showed a human woman in formal dress speaking to a camera. Taesung recognized the uniform. She was a diplomat. I am Ambassador G1 of the United Human Territories, the hologram said. We come in peace and friendship to all intelligent species. We seek only mutual understanding and cooperation among the stars. We believe that all civilizations can benefit from trade and cultural exchange. Dalmon deactivated the device. She sent this message to us 6 months ago. So hopeful, so naive. He leaned forward. We never responded, of course. We do not negotiate with species we intend to conquer. Why are you showing me this? Taesung asked. Because I want you to understand how foolish your people are. You send messages of peace to an empire built on war. You offer friendship to those who see you only as resources to be harvested. Dalmon's voice was cold. Your Ambassador G1 will die when we invade Earth. Her family will die. Everyone she loves will die or become slaves. And it will be because she was too stupid to recognize predators when she saw them. Taesung's jaw tightened, but he controlled his anger. Getting angry was what they wanted. The door opened again and more Vraxians entered. Officers in different uniforms carrying data pads and recording devices. They arranged themselves around the room watching. Hana was among them, standing in the back. "I have brought witnesses," Dalmon explained. "High Command wants documentation of human interrogation. They want to study your reactions, your psychology, your breaking point." He smiled. "You are going to be famous, Captain Taesung, the first human prisoner of the Vraxian Empire." "Not the first," Taesung said quietly. "Just the first one you kept alive long enough to talk to." Dalmon's smile faded slightly. "Yes, the others resisted. They had to be eliminated. I hope you will be smarter. What do you want from me?" "I already told you. Everything, but let me be more specific." Dalmon stood and began pacing. "I want military codes. Defensive positions. The location of your shipyards and weapons facilities. I want to know how your faster-than-light drives work. I want to know your weaknesses. And if I tell you these things, you will let me go?" Dalmon laughed.
"No, if you tell me these things, I will kill you quickly."
"If you do not tell me, I will keep you alive to watch your species fall. Either way, you will die. But you can choose how much you suffer first." Taesung was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "When does your invasion fleet leave?" "It left this morning. 3,000 warships, the largest force we have assembled in 200 years. They will reach human space in 23 days. Dalmon looked pleased with himself. "We are going to make an example of your species. Other young civilizations will hear what happened to the humans who refused to submit. They will learn to surrender immediately." 3,000 ships, Taesung repeated. "Yes, each one capable of destroying a city with a single shot. Together they can burn entire worlds." Dalmon walked closer. "Your largest military fleet has what? 200 ships? 300? And those ships are smaller than ours. Weaker. Your weapons are primitive. Your shields are laughable. You have studied us carefully. Of course, we do not attack without preparation. We have been watching your species since you first left your solar system. We know everything about you." Taesung looked up at him. "Then you know that we have fought ourselves for our entire history." "Yes. Tribal warfare. Pathetic conflicts over resources and territory. We know about your world wars. We know about your nuclear weapons." Dalmon waved a hand dismissively. "Every species fights itself when young. You are not special. How many of the species you conquered had nuclear weapons before they reached the stars? A few. Perhaps 20 or 30. And how many of those species used those weapons on themselves?" Dalmon paused. "What?" "Nuclear weapons. World-ending weapons. How many species built them and then actually used them on their own cities? On their own people?" The room was very quiet. Dalmon looked at his officers. Some of them were checking their data pads, looking up information. "One of them did," Dalmon said slowly. "The Keltharians. They used nuclear weapons in a civil war 300 years before we found them." "Just one." Taesung nodded. "Humans used them twice. On ourselves. And we've come close to using them at least a dozen more times. We've spent the last 80 years with enough nuclear weapons to destroy our own planet 50 times over. So you are self-destructive. This proves you are weak, not strong. Does it?" Taesung leaned back against the wall. "Or does it prove that we understand war in a way you never have? You conquer primitive species. You overwhelm them with superior technology. But you have never fought an enemy that fights the way we fight." Dalmon's eyes narrowed. "You think you are warriors? You are cargo haulers and farmers and shopkeepers playing at being soldiers." Taesung started to laugh. It was quiet at first, just a small chuckle. But it grew louder. He laughed like he had just heard the funniest joke in the universe. The Vraxians looked at each other, confused. Dalmon's face darkened with anger. "What is so funny, human?" Taesung wiped his eyes. "You, all of you. You have no idea what you're about to do. Explain yourself." Dalmon's voice was dangerous now. "You think we are not warriors because I hauled cargo, because Ambassador Jiwan offered peace." Taesung shook his head. "Every human you will meet, every single one is descended from survivors of wars you cannot imagine. We have fought each other for 10,000 years. We have created weapons specifically designed to cause maximum suffering. We have written books about war. We have turned killing into an art form." He stood up slowly. The guards raised their weapons, but he did not move toward them. "Your empire has conquered 847 species. Congratulations. We have fought ourselves for millennia, and we are still here. We did not conquer primitives. We fought equals. We fought people who were just as smart as us, just as creative, just as desperate to survive. Dalmon grabbed Tae-sung by the throat, one of his 4 hands squeezing. You will show respect or you will suffer. Tae-sung looked him in the eyes. His voice was strained but steady. You want war? We will give you war. Not the kind of war you know. Not conquest and submission. Real war. Total war. The kind of war where there are no winners, only survivors. Dalmon threw him against the wall. Tae-sung hit hard and slid down to the floor, but he was still smiling. You want to know Earth's defenses? Tae-sung said. I will tell you. We have 342 warships. We have orbital stations around every major colony. We have nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons. We have weapons we promised each other we would never use again. He pulled himself to his feet using the wall for support. But our real weapon is not technology. It is experience. Every human you fight will have studied war their entire lives. Every human you fight will know that war is not about glory or honor. It is about survival, and we are very good at surviving. Dalmon stared at him. Then he turned to his guards. Prepare the torture equipment. I want him screaming within the hour. Wait, one of the officers said. High Inquisitor, perhaps we should consider his words. If the humans are more dangerous than we thought, silence. Dalmon rounded on him. I will not be frightened by an old man in chains. The invasion proceeds as planned. He walked to the door, then stopped and looked back at Tae-sung. You will watch your species fall. You will see your Earth burn, and then you will beg me for death. As the Vraxians filed out of the room, Hana was the last to leave. She looked at Tae-sung one more time. He was standing against the wall, breathing hard, blood running from his lip where he had bitten it. But his eyes were not afraid. They were sad. Like he felt sorry for her. The door closed and locked. Tae-sung sat back down on the bench. 23 days until the fleet arrived at human space. He closed his eyes and began to count. 3 weeks had passed since Dalmon's interrogation. Tae-sung sat in his cell and kept count of the days by the meals they brought him. Twice a day, every day. 42 meals so far. They had not tortured him. Dalmon had decided to keep him alive and healthy, so he could witness humanity's defeat. It was supposed to be a punishment, but Tae-sung did not mind. He ate his meals, did exercises to keep his old body strong, and waited. The cell door opened, and Hana entered with his food. She came alone now. The guards had stopped accompanying her after the first week when it became clear that the old human was not going to attack anyone. She set the tray down on the bench. Rice and vegetables today. Better than yesterday. Thank you, Tae-sung said. He had learned that Hana was different from the other Vraxians. She was curious. She asked questions. And sometimes, late at night when the facility was quiet, she would sit outside his cell and talk with him. Hana hesitated. The invasion fleet should reach your territory today. By tonight we should have news of the first battles. Tae-sung nodded and began eating. You are not worried? Hana asked. Would worrying change anything? I suppose not. She was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Yes. Why did you tell the High Inquisitor about your weapons? You gave him information. You told him about your defenses. Tae-sung swallowed his food. I told him what he wanted to hear. I did not tell him what he needed to know. What is the difference? He wanted to know about ships and weapons and numbers. Those are easy things to count. Tae-sung looked at her. What he needed to know was why humans fight. But I tried to tell him that, and he did not listen. Hana sat down on the floor outside the cell, her back against the wall. This had become their routine. She would bring food and they would talk. Tell me about human wars, she said. Real stories, not threats. Tae-sung thought for a moment. Have you heard of World War II? No. It was a war on Earth about 200 years ago. 50 million people died. Maybe more. No one knows the exact number because so many bodies were never found. Hana's eyes widened. 50 million? In one war? In 6 years. And it was not the first time we did something like that. 30 years before we fought World War I. 20 million dead in that one. He took another bite of his food. We are very efficient killers when we want to be. But why? Why would you kill so many of your own people? Many reasons: territory, resources, revenge, ideology, fear. Tae-sung shrugged. Humans fight for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes we fight for good reasons. Sometimes for bad ones. Sometimes we fight just because we are afraid not to. Hana was quiet, processing this. The High Inquisitor said you are weak because you fight yourselves. He is wrong. We are strong because we fight ourselves. Every war teaches us something new. Every defeat makes us better. Taesung finished his meal and set the tray aside. Your empire conquers primitive species. You have never fought an enemy who could really hurt you. You do not know what real war is. And you do. Every human does. We study it in school. We read about it in books. We watch movies about it. War is part of our culture in a way I do not think you can understand. Hana stood up. I should go. The officers will be gathering soon to hear news from the fleet. Good luck, Taesung said quietly. She gave him a strange look. Why would you wish me luck? We are your enemies. You personally have been kind to me. I do not wish suffering on kind people, even if we are on different sides. Hana left without responding, but she looked troubled. That night, Taesung lay on his bench and stared at the ceiling. The fleet should have reached human space by now. The first battle should be happening. He wondered which ships the humans had sent to meet them. He wondered how many of his people would die today. He hoped it would not be too many, but he knew it would be enough. The next morning, Hana did not bring his food. A guard brought it instead, threw it through the door slot, and left without speaking. That was unusual. The day passed slowly. No one came to interrogate him. No one came to check on him. The facility seemed quieter than usual. That evening, Hana finally appeared. She looked tired. Her scales seemed duller than before. What happened? Taesung asked. Nothing, she said. That is the problem. Nothing happened. I don't understand. Hana sat down heavily outside the cell. The invasion fleet reached your territory yesterday. They were supposed to attack your outer colonies first. We should have received reports of battles, of victories, of human surrender. But you heard nothing? We heard the first transmission. Fleet Admiral Kostar reported that they had entered human space and detected your defensive positions. He said the battle would begin within the hour. Hana looked at him. That was yesterday afternoon. We have heard nothing since. Taesung said nothing. Communication issues, they say. Interference from human technology. The fleet is too far away for real-time updates. Hana did not sound like she believed it. But we should have heard something by now. Victory reports. Casualty numbers, anything. Maybe the battle is harder than expected, Taesung offered. Maybe. Hana stood up. High Inquisitor Dalmon is not worried. He says our fleet is invincible. He says silence means total victory and the fleet is too busy conquering to send reports. What do you think? Hana looked at him for a long moment. I think you were not afraid when they captured you. I think you were not afraid when they threatened you. I think you are not afraid now. And I'm starting to understand why. She left quickly after that. Days passed. The silence continued. No word from the invasion fleet. No battle reports. No victory announcements, nothing. Taesung could hear the Vraxians talking in the corridors. Their voices were worried now. The guards spoke in hushed tones about lost communications and mysterious silence. The officers held constant meetings, their voices raised in argument. 1 week after the fleet entered human space, Dalmon came to Taesung's cell. He looked angry. What have your people done? He demanded. I am in a cell, Taesung said calmly. I have not done anything. Our fleet. 3,000 ships. They are not responding to any communications. We have sent probe ships to investigate. Those probes are also going silent when they reach your territory. Perhaps your communication systems are broken. Dalmon grabbed the cell bars. Do not mock me, human. Tell me what is happening. I do not know what is happening. I told you that I am just a cargo hauler. I know nothing about military operations. You knew something. You warned us. You said we did not understand what we were dealing with. Dalmon's voice was desperate now. What did you mean? Taesung stood up and walked to the bars. He looked Dalmon in the eyes. I meant that you have never fought someone who fights back with everything they have. You conquer species who surrender after losing a few battles. You do not understand enemies who would rather die than submit. Our fleet is the most powerful force in this sector of the galaxy. Your few hundred ships cannot stand against it. You are probably right, Taesung agreed. But how many of your ships will be left when the battle is over? How many of your crews will survive? And what will you do when the next human fleet arrives? And the one after that? And the one after that? Dalmon's hands shook. You cannot win. Even if you destroy this fleet, we have more. We can send 10 fleets, 2,100, yes. And we will fight all of them. Because that is what we do. We fight. Dalmon stepped back from the cell. High Command is assembling a second fleet. 5,000 ships this time. They will find out what happened to the first fleet and complete the invasion. I am sure they will try. You will see. You will see your species broken and begging for mercy. But Dalmon's voice lacked conviction now. He left the cell block quickly, his footsteps echoing in the corridor. Hana came that night. She sat outside the cell in the darkness. They did not turn on the lights. I accessed the probe data before they classified it, she said quietly. The probes that went to investigate the fleet. What did you see? Wreckage. Debris fields. Signs of massive energy weapons fire. Her voice was shaking. The probes detected no life signs. No active ships. Nothing but destroyed vessels drifting in space. Taesung closed his eyes. 3,000 ships. Hundreds of thousands of Vraxian crew members. All dead. How? Hana asked. How could your few hundred ships destroy 3,000 of ours? I do not know the details. But I know my people. I know that when they fight, they do not fight to win battles. They fight to eliminate threats completely. This is not war. This is slaughter. Yes, Taesung said softly. War is slaughter. That is what I tried to tell Dalmon. That is what he would not hear. Hana was quiet for a long time. Then she said, The second fleet leaves tomorrow. 5,000 ships. Every available warship in this sector. They will die too, Taesung said. It was not a threat. Just a simple statement of fact. I know, Hana whispered. I know. She sat there in the darkness for another hour, saying nothing. Taesung sat on his bench and waited. Outside, in the corridors of the facility, he could hear the Vraxians preparing for war. They did not understand yet. But they would. Soon they would understand what it meant to fight humanity. The silence from the first fleet was not a mystery. It was a message. And the second fleet was about to receive the same message. Taesung counted his days and waited for the war to truly begin. 2 months had passed since the first fleet went silent. The second fleet of 5,000 ships had departed 6 weeks ago with great ceremony. The Vraxian Empire had declared it the largest military force ever assembled. They broadcast images of the fleet across all their territories. They promised swift victory and harsh punishment for the humans who dared resist. Taesung had watched the broadcasts on a small screen they installed in his cell. Dalmon wanted him to see the might of the Empire, wanted him to understand how hopeless resistance was. The old man had watched without expression and said nothing. Now he sat in his cell and counted days. 140 meals since his capture. 140 days of waiting. The second fleet had been silent for 2 weeks. The facility had changed. The guards no longer joked or talked casually. Officers walked quickly through corridors, their faces tight with stress. Hana came to his cell every day now, bringing food and sometimes just sitting in silence. She looked exhausted. Her scales had lost their shine and her eyes were always tired. They are calling an emergency council, she told him one evening. Supreme Overlord Rathazor himself is demanding answers. The High Command is terrified. What are they saying happened to the fleets? Taesung asked. Officially? Communication failures. Technical problems. Nothing to worry about. Hana laughed bitterly. Unofficially, they know. 8,000 ships do not just disappear because of technical problems. No, Taesung agreed. They do not. A probe came back yesterday. Just one. It was damaged, barely functional, but it had data. Hana pulled out her datapad. I should not show you this. I could be executed for treason. Then do not show me. She showed him anyway. The screen displayed grainy footage from the probe's cameras. It showed space filled with debris, pieces of Vraxian warships floating like leaves in the wind. And among the wreckage, human ships moved in perfect formation. The ships were smaller than the Vraxian vessels, but they moved with precision that seemed impossible. They were not fighting. The battle was already over. They were scanning the debris fields looking for survivors. This is from the second fleet's last known position, Hana said. 5,000 ships. All destroyed. Taesung watched the footage carefully. He could see the human ships clearly now. Frigates and destroyers mostly, with a few larger cruisers. Nothing that should have been able to fight 5,000 Vraxian warships. But the Vraxian ships were gone and the human ships remained. There. Hana pointed at the screen. Do you see that ship? Taesung looked where she indicated. One of the larger human vessels. The probe had captured an image of its hull. There were words painted on the side in human writing. Incheon, Taesung read aloud. He smiled slightly. That is a good name for a warship. What does it mean? It is a place on Earth, a beach where a battle was fought long ago, a battle that changed the course of a war. He looked at Hana. Humans name their ships after victories, after places where we fought and won against impossible odds. The footage continued. More human ships appeared. Then the probe's signal began breaking up. In the last clear image, Taesung saw something that made him lean closer to the screen. A massive human ship was approaching. Not a warship. Something bigger. A carrier or a construction vessel. It was moving toward the debris field. They are salvaging the wreckage, Hana said, taking our technology. Studying it. They are learning, Taesung corrected. That is what humans do. We learn from every fight. We adapt. The screen went dark. The probe's transmission ended there. Hana put away the data pad. The Supreme Overlord is calling you before the High Council. They want to question you themselves. When? Tomorrow morning. They are arriving tonight from the capital. She looked at him. What will you tell them? The truth. The same thing I told Dalmon. But they will not listen either. The next morning, guards came to his cell. They put him in chains again and led him through the facility. They did not need the chains. Taesung walked calmly, looking around at the Vraxian base with interest. They brought him to a large chamber filled with holographic projectors. Images of Vraxian officials appeared in the air, dozens of them all watching him. At the center was the largest hologram, an ancient Vraxian with black scales and cold eyes that had seen centuries of conquest. Supreme Overlord Rathazor. This is the human? Rathazor's voice was like gravel sliding down a mountain. Yes, Supreme Overlord, Dalmon said. He stood to one side, looking smaller than Taesung had ever seen him. He does not look like much. Rathazor studied Taesung. Old weak. This is the species that destroyed 8,000 of our ships? I did not destroy anything, Taesung said quietly. I am a prisoner here. Silence. One of the holographic officials shouted. You speak only when the Supreme Overlord grants permission, but Rathazor raised a hand. Let him speak. I want to understand what kind of species we are fighting. He leaned forward. Tell me, human, how did your people destroy 2 of our fleets? I was not there. I do not know the specific tactics they used, but you knew they would win. When Dalmon told you about the invasion, you were not afraid. You laughed. Rathazor's eyes narrowed. You knew something. Taesung took a breath. I knew that you were making a mistake. I tried to warn you, but no one listened. Explain. Your empire has existed for 10,000 years. You have conquered hundreds of species. You are strong and powerful. Taesung met the Supreme Overlord's eyes, but you have never fought anyone like us. So you have said, yet you give no details, no explanation. Rathazor's voice grew cold. I think you are bluffing. I think your species has some weapon, some trick. Technology you stole or bought from others. Once we discover what it is, we will counter it. It is not a weapon, Taesung said. It is experience. Experience. Rathazor said the word like it tasted bad. You think experience defeats superior numbers? Superior technology? Yes, when the experience is deep enough. One of the holographic officials spoke up. Supreme Overlord, this is wasting time. We should extract information through enhanced interrogation. Perhaps, Rathazor said, but first I want to hear what he has to say. He looked at Taesung. Tell me about this experience. Convince me you are not simply lucky. Taesung was quiet for a moment. Then he began speaking. Humans have been killing each other for as long as we have existed. 10,000 years ago we fought with stones and sticks. 5,000 years ago we built armies of thousands. 2,000 years ago we conquered continents. Every generation of humans has known war. He paused. You have conquered primitive species. Species who maybe fought small wars with each other, but nothing serious. Nothing that threatened their entire civilization. You overwhelmed them with technology they had never seen. Yes, Rathazor said, that is how conquest works. But humans did not have anyone to conquer us. We only had each other. So we fought each other with everything we had. We invented new weapons specifically to kill other humans. We developed strategies and tactics over thousands of years of constant warfare. Taesung's voice grew stronger. Your soldiers train for battle. Our soldiers train for war. There is a difference. Battle is a single fight. War is 1,000 fights, each one teaching you something new. Each one making you harder, smarter, more ruthless. Impossible, one of the officials said. No species could survive constant warfare for that long. We did not just survive. We thrived. Every war made us stronger. Every defeat taught us lessons. We learned to fight in forests and deserts and mountains and oceans. We learned to fight in cities and in space. We learned to fight when outnumbered, when outgunned, when all hope seemed lost. He looked around at all the holographic faces watching him, and we learned the most important lesson of all. We learned that war is not about winning battles. It is about destroying your enemy's will to fight. You think you can destroy our will? Rathazor laughed. We are the Vraxian Empire. We have endured for 10,000 years. Yes, 10,000 years of conquering the weak. You have never faced someone who could truly hurt you. Taesung stepped forward. The guards tensed but did not stop him. Every human you fight will know that we cannot surrender. Cannot submit. Because we know what happens to conquered species. We have studied your empire. We know you enslave or eliminate those you conquer. So you fight because you have no choice, Rathazor said. Desperation? That is not strength. It is the strongest motivation there is. A species fighting for survival will do things you cannot imagine. The chamber was silent. Then a communication officer rushed in and whispered something to Dalmon. The High Inquisitor's face went pale. Supreme Overlord, Dalmon said. We have received a transmission. From the humans. Show me. The holograms of the council members faded and were replaced by a new image. A human in military uniform sat in what looked like a ship's bridge. He was middle-aged with short dark hair and a calm expression. Behind him, Taesung could see other humans working at control stations. I am Admiral Kyung-soo of the Human Defense Fleet, the man said. I am transmitting this message to all Vraxian military facilities in this sector. His voice was professional and cold. The Vraxian Empire has committed acts of war against humanity. You have destroyed civilian vessels. You have taken prisoners. You have sent invasion fleets into our territory with the stated intention of conquering our worlds. 6 months had passed since Admiral Kyung-soo's transmission. 6 months since the Vraxian Empire declared total war on humanity. 6 months since the galaxy learned what humans were truly capable of. Taesung sat in his cell and listened to the sounds of the facility falling apart. The guards no longer came regularly. Sometimes days passed between meals. The lights flickered constantly. He could hear explosions in the distance getting closer each day. Hana still came to see him when she could. She looked like she had aged 10 years and 6 months. Her scales were dull and she moved like every step hurt. How bad is it? Taesung asked when she brought him food one evening. She laughed bitterly. How bad? The Empire is collapsing. Worlds are in open rebellion. Half our fleet is destroyed. The other half is scattered across the galaxy trying to hold everything together. She sat down heavily outside his cell. And your people? Your people are everywhere. Tell me. They do not fight like we expected. They do not invade worlds. They do not try to conquer territory. Hana's voice shook. They destroy our military forces and then they leave. They strike and vanish. They hit supply lines, shipyards, command centers. They are systematic, efficient, terrifying. She pulled out her datapad and showed him reports. Taesung read them carefully. Vraxian fleet ambushed at the Kelro system. 30 ships destroyed. Human casualties, minimal orbital shipyard at Vex Prime destroyed. Construction facilities reduced to debris. No human ships detected. Supply convoy attacked near the Dalmir Nebula. All cargo vessels destroyed. Escorting warships disabled but not destroyed. They are not trying to kill us all, Hana said. They are trying to break us, and it is working. What about the species you conquered? Taesung asked. The 847 civilizations. Hana closed her eyes. They are rebelling. Your people contacted them, gave them weapons, gave them training, gave them hope. She opened her eyes and looked at him. Do you know what the humans told them? They said, we do not ask you to fight for us. We ask you to fight for yourselves. We will give you the tools. The rest is up to you. Taesung nodded slowly. That sounded like something humans would do. The Keltharian system declared independence 3 months ago. The Marathi colonies 2 months ago. The Vrex territories last week. Hana counted them off on her fingers. We cannot fight all of them and fight the humans at the same time. We do not have enough ships. We do not have enough soldiers. Where is Supreme Overlord Rathazor? On Vraxis Prime, the homeworld. He has recalled all remaining military forces to defend the capital. Hana stood up. And there is something else. Commander Borum is coming. Who is Commander Borum? Human Special Forces. She leads a team that strikes deep behind our lines. They have destroyed 6 major facilities in the last 2 months. Hana looked toward the door. Intelligence reports say they are heading here. To Kelmar 7 to rescue you. Tae-sung stood up quickly. You need to evacuate this facility. If Commander Borum is coming, this place will become a battlefield. Dalmon refuses to leave. He says it would show weakness. Hana laughed again, that same bitter sound. As if we have any strength left to show. She left quickly after that. Tae-sung paced his cell, thinking. If a rescue team was coming, things would get dangerous. People would die. He did not want that, even if they were his enemies. 3 days later, the attack began. Tae-sung woke to the sound of explosions. Alarms blared throughout the facility. He could hear guards shouting and running through corridors. The lights went out, replaced by dim emergency lighting. The cell door remained locked. He was trapped. More explosions. Closer now. The sound of weapons fire. Energy weapons humming and crackling. Tae-sung pressed himself against the wall furthest from the door and waited. Someone screamed. Then silence. Footsteps approached his cell, fast and light. The door's lock sparked and melted. The door slid open. A human woman stood there in black armor. She was young, maybe 30, with her hair pulled back and a weapon in her hands. 2 more soldiers stood behind her, scanning the corridor. Captain Tae-sung? She asked in Korean. Yes. Commander Borum, we are here to take you home. She stepped into the cell and checked him for injuries. Can you walk? I am old, not broken. I can walk, she smiled briefly. Good. Stay close and do what we say. The facility is secured, but there may be stragglers. They moved through the corridors quickly. Tae-sung saw Vraxian guards unconscious on the floor. Not dead, just stunned. The human soldiers had disabled them without killing. Wait, Tae-sung said. There is a Vraxian officer. Lieutenant Hana, she has been kind to me. Can we find her? Borum checked a device on her wrist. We have a list of facility personnel. Is she on the kill list? Kill list? Personnel who committed war crimes. They do not get to leave. Borum's voice was cold. Everyone else gets a choice. Surrender and live or fight and die. Hana is not a war criminal, just a junior officer. Then she can surrender with the others. Borum gestured and they continued moving. They reached the facility's main hangar. Vraxian personnel were gathered in one area, sitting on the floor with their hands visible. Human soldiers watched them carefully. Tae-sung saw Hana among them. She looked relieved when she saw him alive. A human ship waited in the hangar, small and sleek, designed for quick insertions and extractions. Borum led Tae-sung toward it. Wait, Tae-sung said again. What will happen to them? He gestured at the Vraxian prisoners. We will leave them here with supplies and working communication equipment. They can call for pickup. Borum paused. We do not kill prisoners. We are not like them. And Dalmon, the High Inquisitor? Borum's face hardened. He is on the kill list. He ordered the execution of civilian prisoners. He is already dead. Tae-sung nodded slowly. He had no love for Dalmon, but he felt no joy at his death either. Just sadness at all the waste. They boarded the ship. As it lifted off, Tae-sung looked out a viewport and saw Kelmar 7 falling away below them. The facility was damaged but intact. The Vraxian prisoners were already organizing themselves, setting up shelters and communications. Where are we going? Tae-sung asked. Earth, Borum said. Admiral Kyung-soo wants to debrief you personally. You have information about Vraxian fleet movements and facility locations. The journey took 2 weeks. During that time, Tae-sung learned about the war from Borum and her team. They told him about battles and strategies, about human losses and victories, about the rebellion spreading through former Vraxian territory. How many humans have died? Tae-sung asked one night. Borum was quiet for a moment. 43,000 military personnel, maybe 5,000 civilians from the initial attacks. She looked at him. The Vraxians have lost over 1 million. Most of them soldiers, but many civilians too. Collateral damage from battles near populated areas. 1 million, Tae-sung whispered. They started this war. They chose to fight. But Borum did not sound happy about it. Just tired. When they finally reached Earth, Tae-sung felt tears in his eyes. He had not been sure he would ever see it again. The blue planet hung in space like a jewel, beautiful and fragile. They landed at a military base. Admiral Kyung-soo met them personally. He was exactly like his transmission, calm and professional. Captain Taesung, he shook Taesung's hand. Welcome home. Thank you for coming for me. We do not leave our people behind. Not if we can help it, Kyung-soo gestured. Come, we have much to discuss. They walked through the base. Kyung-soo explained the current situation. The war was effectively over, though fighting continued in some areas. The Vraxian Empire had fractured. Rathazor was dead, suicide according to reports. The remaining Vraxian leaders were suing for peace. What will you demand? Taesung asked. Demand? Kyung-soo looked at him. We will demand nothing. We will negotiate a fair peace, but you won. You could take their territory, their resources. We could, Kyung-soo agreed. But then we would become what they were, conquerors, oppressors. He stopped walking and turned to face Taesung. Humans fight when we must, but we do not seek empire. We never have. They reached a conference room. Inside, Taesung saw something unexpected. Vraxian representatives sat at the table, and standing near them was Hana. Lieutenant Hana volunteered to join the provisional government, Kyung-soo explained. Former Vraxian territories need leaders who understand both sides. She is one of many working to rebuild. Taesung walked over to her. You are well? As well as can be expected. Hana looked older too. The war had aged everyone. I wanted to thank you. Commander Borum told me you asked them to spare me. You were kind to me. I do not forget kindness. The negotiations took weeks. Humans, Vraxians, and representatives from dozens of liberated species worked together to create a new structure. Not an empire. A coalition of independent worlds with mutual defense agreements and trade relationships. The Vraxian territories would not be annexed. They would be allowed to govern themselves with oversight to prevent future aggression. Reparations would be paid not in money but in knowledge sharing and cultural exchange. Taesung attended many of these meetings. Admiral Kyung-soo wanted his perspective. Wanted to know what the Vraxians thought. What they feared. What they needed. One day, Hana asked to speak with him privately. I have a question, she said. Your people won the war. You could demand anything. Take anything. Why are you being so merciful? Taesung thought about this for a long time.